Did you fix it? Obviously, but did you find it or
I have
what?
no, I have no idea. For some reason, my computer and the TV set at this Airbnb have jumped off the Wi-Fi, and I can't get them to go back on. But my phone is on the Wi-Fi, and now I'm hotspotting this show from the phone to the computer. So I think let's just see if what people say, if they say my connection is good. So far, everything seems great. Does my picture look clear to you?
It does to me. Yeah.
All right, guys. Sorry about the issues last night. The roadcaster went out. Ironic,
Stop.
man. Yeah, it says I got 1 bar. Dane, let's damn, this really sucks. Let me try one more thing. Let me try one thing real quick here. Let me move my phone somewhere else. How's the connection for you guys in the chat? Everything good? All right. Everything good? Everyone hear me good? Everyone see Dane good? Come on, guys. Give me a little feedback. No, it's not good. Mark Moss, yes, good. Brett Bauer, hey, Dane. You know Brett?
Oh yeah, yeah. He owns CrossFit Port Clinton.
Is that where you go?
It's a summer. That's where we go in the summertime. On Saturdays, we have a little place that's about 100 miles from here, and they opened up maybe 3-4 years ago. It's been great. Like 6 of us go from my little place up there, so it's fun.
Oh, and what state are you in?
I'm in Ohio.
Okay. When I think of Port Clinton, I think of Maine. Where is that also in
Port
Ohio?
Clinton is halfway between Cleveland and Toledo, right on Lake Erie.
Say that again. Between Ohio and where?
No, it's so in Ohio, northern Ohio. Like
Mhm.
the next thing north of us is Canada. So all along Lake Erie runs from Toledo to Buffalo. I live outside of Cleveland, and they are halfway between Toledo and Cleveland. Is where Port Clinton's at. So
Okay.
Sandusky is another city that'd be around there. A big amusement park called Cedar Point. That's like Disney World. I mean, it's a
Oh,
major attraction for the summertime.
hey, they didn't have to change the name of the city?
No,
Okay.
for what?
Sandusky, because I know they pulled down the statues. Remember, I was just talking about it on the
That's in Penn State, yeah.
but they
Or
but they got
Pennsylvania.
but they got a city called Sandusky too?
Yeah, it was. Was it John Sandusky or something? I can't remember his first name, but yeah, the coach at Penn State there.
Yeah, there was Sandusky and Paterno. They were diddling the boys, but they left the name, and then I think they started pulling down statues and stuff and doing weird shit. Is that town named after like his great
No,
grandfather or something?
no,
No.
nope,
Okay.
nothing. I believe the town was well there before Jerry Sandusky got to Penn State.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Hey, so I met you. I met you at the CrossFit Games.
we did. We did. The funny thing about that is for the last 5 years, I was like first on the line. So we always had the tickets in the front row at the finish line. And unbeknownst to me, one of your peers actually educated me like on year 2 or 3. I would get up and they would take my seat. Or when something would happen, they would all run to the end, right? And they would want to get that picture. And I was getting kind of pissed. I'm like, man, I spent $2,000 for the wife and I to sit here, and you guys take my seat. And one guy was very cordial about it. I said, this is how we make our living now. And I'm like, okay, so I get it. So this year, I was like, I don't want to deal with the media. We're going to go front row on the side of the finish line. And what was all in front of us? Every bit of media, right? So it didn't matter. So either way, it was still worked out fine. It worked out fine. So we're just a fan of it. And, there's bigger problems in life of getting blocked by a picture or a camera person. They're there. It's like when a semi wants to get over on the highway. They're working. I'm usually going somewhere for pleasure. Get out of their way and let them do their thing. So
You have a great attitude. And hey, I was digging through your Instagram, and your wife was a competitor or is a competitor?
yeah, between the two of us, certainly she is. I do it to try to stay a little fitter. maybe I'm off by a spot or two, but I think 2 years ago she finished 3 years ago, 24th in the world, and then 26th. And both times they took top 10 in their age group. And then she finished 40th this year. She's getting older. She's whatever in 52. So it'll be the third years in her 50s. And she is, was she 40th? So they took the top 30. So she's right in there, has been in the semifinals the last X amount, 5-6 years. So she does a great job.
Did you say she's 52?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you've heard this plenty times before, but when I saw this, I thought maybe this was like your second or third wife, and she was like 20 years younger than you. That's crazy that she's 52.
Right. So that's Port Clinton right there. That's up at our lake house that we have that we hang out in the summertime. But yes, we are about 18 months apart, and I don't dye my hair.
Wow, she's not aging. She's not aging.
Nope.
That's wild.
And she's very humble. Big joke around the gym is it's a good thing that she's the good one and I'm not, because I don't know that I can stay as humble as she is. Yeah.
I told Dave Castor that one time, I go, can you imagine what an asshole I'd be if I had 750,000 followers on Instagram like you did? You do.
Me too. It would be unreal.
Oh my God.
I keep everybody abreast on anything I've ever done that I think is an accomplishment. There's a running total of, I've only ever completed 152 bar muscle ups in my life. 3 of them are international, and I bring that up all the time. I got them in Mexico, and it's a big deal to me. And my wife's probably done that on a Saturday alone. So,
right.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't see it now, but there was a picture of you with your oldest son when he's a kid. It's like when he was in kindergarten, I think. And then it shows a picture of him when he's a senior in high school. And the remarkable thing about that photo is you look like you got younger in those 12 years. Like you got all lean and chiseled. So is that how long ago you found CrossFit? About 12 years ago?
Yeah, 6-7 years ago. So it was, it's been, okay. I'm trying to think. No, it's 2008, 9 years ago. So it was one of these things. I mean, and we all have our story how we started. I remember when my wife started going. So her name is Jen. She started going to a gym. I had not done anything other than run a few 5Ks, and I gained. We got married in I was 26, so 96, 97 is when we started hanging out. I was maybe 175, 180 pounds. I'm 5'10", and we got married, and I probably put on 2 pounds a year. Wasn't big, wasn't going on, or 2.5, 3, but over a 20-year period, that's 60 pounds. She stayed the same. I kept running. She's lifting weights and doing these other things, and she came home one day. And she said, I did this new thing today. It's CrossFit. And she had read an article about how the lady that saved her son when he fell off a cliff or was on the side of a cliff, and she was strong enough to pull him up. And because of CrossFit and lifting and keeping your muscles, she thought, well, look at this guy. He's going to shit. I might as well be the strong one in the family. So she started doing it. And I don't want to say almost jealous, but the discipline it took. And I was like, well, how much is that? And she would say, well, I don't know. I just bought a punch card. And, I was nitpicking at things like the monthly cost to it. And you can do that from home, and you can do it all because I wasn't bought into being better. Right. She was also, at the time removing aluminum out of the deodorant. And I'm like, don't touch mine. And she's removing fluoride out of the toothpaste, and don't touch mine. And, going down that route. And anyway, she wanted, this is a great story. She wanted LASIK surgery. And again, and it's, I'm like, all right. And I bought a Groupon of all things. Right. And I said, look, here, go get your eyes done. I got buy one eye, get one eye for free. And she's like, are you shitting me? You think I'm going to use a coupon for eye surgery? I'm like, well, who wouldn't want to do that? Right. So anyway, we go down that road, and she said, I'm not using that. and it was like $2,000. So I called Groupon at the time. Again, this might be 8-9 years ago. And they said, hey, we're not going to refund you, but you can use this credit amongst the Groupon world, the galaxy. And one of the things in there, it's not the gym I go to now, or even the one I started, was like a free month, not a free month, but I could use the Groupon towards it, right? So I did that.
Towards a CrossFit gym.
Yes.
Gym.
Yep. And she was doing CrossFit at another gym, and I did not want to go in there. I probably weighed 245 pounds. I watched her do pull-ups, and I thought, man, I can't even do a pull-up today, right? You're just in being an ex-athlete, and I'm not a great one or college or anything like that, but played sports my whole life. I was in the Army, attached to the Special Forces, spent 3 years with them. So I've pushed myself very hard on things. And anyway, I went into the CrossFit gym. It was a Friday. The coach did a good job at going through the illness, wellness, fitness. And I'm like, all right, great. He said, then just come in tomorrow. We have a class. And I'm like, I'll do that. And I go in this class, and I kind of look around. I think like any guy would do the first time, before you realize just how tough some of these women can be. And I was like, start picking out people. Well, I'll certainly beat them. I'll beat them. I'll beat them. I'll beat them. And we did this. It felt like a million pull-ups, a million hang cleans, a million push-ups, a lot of this stuff. I left there that day. It was like Saturday at 11 o'clock. I walk out, did my first CrossFit workout. We were going to a concert in downtown Cleveland. So I had a limo picking us up at 1 o'clock. Some friends had come in from Cincinnati. We're going to see Luke Bryan or somebody like that. And we start pounding margaritas and drinks. And again, I'm going to work out, not change any other habits, and I'll just be healthy again. That workout combined with pounding the alcohol. 2 days later, I went to take a pee, and it was as black as coffee. And
wow.
My wife said, hey, and I couldn't straighten my arms. They were just, I was like, this really hurts. And she said, did you read the waiver? I'm like, who the fuck reads the waiver, hon? I didn't read the waiver. She's like, well, I bet you got rhabdo. And I'm like, well, if it makes me feel better, go get me some rhabdo. Whatever it is, I am hurting. I couldn't pick up a dozen eggs. My arms hurt so bad. Like at the grocery store, I dropped them in the aisle because they hurt. I happened to live right next door to an orthopedic surgeon at the time. And my wife called him. He was a sports medicine doctor too, and he did his internship at the University of Arizona. So he had dealt with rhabdo on illegals at the time, going across the Mexican border, making it into Arizona. And he's seen how it depletes your body and what goes on. And he said, is Dane there? She said, yep, he's here. And this was like, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock at night. We were up at Port Clinton at our place, and we have to come back to Cleveland. And she said, put him on the phone. I said, all right. She puts me on the phone. I said, what's up, doc? He said, hey, what you have can kill you. You need to get to the hospital right now and get fluids in you. And it just hit me right in the face. Like, all right. So they drive me my wife takes me to the ER, and I'm more worried about Ohio State playing Virginia Tech. I'm like, can you get me a room that's got a TV here? And the doctor's like, just hold on for a second, buddy. They take my CK levels, and I want to say their test stops at like 65,000, and mine were greater than 65,000. So my kidneys were completely shutting down. And the whole reason I got into CrossFit was to get healthy, to be able to donate a kidney to my youngest son that needs it. And here I'm day one, workout one, right in the hospital. I spent 4 nights and 5 days. It was fairly miserable with double IVs in your arm, right? I don't know if you know anybody that's ever had. And it was just urine or liquid in, urine out, ringing the bell every time. So they come and make sure and measure it. Very interesting about that stay though, and stop me anywhere you want. But they couldn't believe. I had a couple interns, and I don't know the hierarchy of physicians except for watching maybe a little bit of Grey's Anatomy with the wife. But I don't believe she was a full-fledged doctor. So whatever's right below that, she just kept questioning me about drug use and alcohol, because I said, hey, well, I worked out for 30 minutes. That's what got me here. And I said, and she's like, then what else did you do? I said, well, I had 2 margaritas and 6 beers over a 7-hour period going to a concert. She's like, do you always drink? And I was like, I don't always, but it was Saturday night. We were going to a concert. It seemed like the thing to do. And I didn't care near as much about my health, and I could recover much faster 10 years ago than what I can today. But it turns out, I believe she held me an extra day to see if I was going to go into some type of withdrawal. And all I cared about was, just making sure that that wasn't the issue. I made it through the whole series of narcos. You get no sleep because, again, you're going to the bathroom every hour on the hour. The moment you feel like you empty yourself, it's those IVs are just draining through you. They finally discharged me out of there. And I humbled myself and went to my wife and her gym at the time and said, okay, what do I need to do? And she said, hey, we have an onboarding program. Just go through that. Take your time, learn what you're doing. And so it was very humbling, but the same token, I realized I had a bigger reason to try to get in shape. But that was my first workout ever, and always the icebreaker when we drop in at another gym and they say, hey, we're going to go around the room. Tell us your name and your favorite CrossFit story, or, your first workout. And it's, mine's usually, I can usually trump most of them with the first workout, 5 days in the hospital, but it's still here kicking today. So, and it was that.
Have you ever gotten rhabdo again, Dane?
No.
Have you ever, no, that's it. Just one and done.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was the alcohol. It was the not hydrating. I could have done that workout, I believe, if I would have hydrated, taken some time, do the right things. But the moment I was deconditioned. And again, I did 20-mile ruck marches in the Army, at Fort Lewis, Seattle. We're up and down Mount Rainier. I had been to that place before. So inside my eyes looking out, I'm the same guy. On the outside looking in, I was a totally different person, right? Like I was a big, heavy guy. And so I believe now that, one, I hydrate a ton. And, if I have a drink or two afterwards, it's way different. Meaning like I've taken in some electrolytes. I've done those things. And then maybe we're going to go out on our boat Saturday afternoon after working out. But I've never, other than being sick, I don't know that I've missed more than a day or two a week in the last 7-8 years at the gym. So
you were hooked after that one case of rhabdo, and you were hooked.
Yeah, I saw what the human body was starting to do. I watched what my wife was doing. I was like, man, how in the world? I want to do some of this stuff. It reminded me of being a kid again. It's what it reminds you of. If you don't get too serious about it. Yeah, for me, when I started CrossFit,
it reminded me of what I didn't do as a kid. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I sat around and ate Ritz crackers and watched TV all day. And when I found CrossFit at 34, I was like, oh shit, I really missed out as a kid.
I'm like anybody else. I wish I would have found it earlier. I'm glad I found it when I did, and that, again, you hear the term a lot of times from doctors, just eat right and exercise. Well, nobody knows what eating right means. And there's a million things that you could call exercising. Doing something does something. I prefer with a little bit of the attention issues I sometimes have. I like CrossFit, a little different every day. Get to go in there. It's different, but yet you kind of know what to expect. I know what 95-pound thrusters are going to feel like, right? You know what those things are going to feel like. But it's still mixed up with different things, and I love it. So no issue there.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys tolerating my shitty internet this morning. And Dane, you said in that story that you wanted to get in shape because you wanted to donate a kidney to your son. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. And that's how I ended up meeting Greg, by the way, too, telling him a little bit about that. So we have 2 kids. My oldest is a senior. My youngest is a 6th grader. So he's 11 years old. So when I go back to the time I started CrossFit, probably when he was 10 or when he was 1 or 2, right there. We were married 8 years before we had our first son. 6 years later, we get our second one. Wasn't for many other reasons, and it just wasn't in the cards. So when she was pregnant with him, when we went to do our anatomy screening, and then it's usually 20 weeks or whatever, we go in there and they're, ultrasound and moving around, and say to us, I said, we have a better ultrasound system in the other room. I think we're going to move you over there. And right away, I was like, that's very odd, right? So we go to the next room, and I've been an insurance agent a long time, and I happen to insure this doctor that comes in. So it's always a little, I'm now his customer instead of him being mine. And he said, hey, we found something here. And I'm like, okay. And he said, see this right here? This is his bladder. I said, okay, we shouldn't be able to see that. I'm like, all right. And he said, see, what happens is about 1 out of 20,000 boys, we all have this valve in your urethra. And about 1 out of 20,000, instead of it being a valve, it actually grows shut. Your son's has grown shut. I said, okay, just go in and open it up. He said, it's not that easy. He said, we will if he makes it to birth. And I said, what do you mean makes it to birth? We're healthy people. We don't do drugs. He said, yeah, if we get that far. See, what's going on right now is the kidneys are making urine, and the urine's not getting out of the body. It's staying in his body. And I was like, all right. He said, and so what you're going to struggle, or what we can struggle with, is the baby moves free-formly around inside the mother's uterus. The placenta is almost all made up of their urine. So they urinate out, then they ingest it back in, and that sac that they're able to move and float around in, is majority of it's their urine. So when they don't have that in there, they describe it's like a baby if you had him inside of a football full of air and then you pulled all the air out. They can't move. Their feet become clubbed. They have all these issues. And this is on the severe case of it. At the time, we have no idea. You put the picture up of Tanner a couple times, and nobody can tell that he's made it almost 12 years on less than 20% function of one kidney is all he has, right? So he said, whatever you do, just don't go Google posterior urethral valves. I'm a guy. What's the first thing I did when I got to our vehicle? I went and Googled posterior urethral valves, and what comes up for him. And anyway, I learned a little bit about what's going on. And really what you see is all these horror stories of the kids that think that just didn't make it. Either way, it was a traumatic time. If you've never been down this road, the hospital assigned you a termination specialist. We went in to find out the sex of our baby. And now they're asking us, do you want to carry this thing all the way through? Because you just understand it's not going to be a perfect child. There's going to have kidney problems. There's going to do this, all these issues. And I'm telling you, the wife and I didn't talk to each other for like 2 days. We just stared and cried. Like, what in the world are you going to do? Anyway, the same customer of mine, he had a peer down in at Ohio State, which is in Columbus, Ohio, which is our state capital, and said, hey, I'm going to do a conference call. And this is, a life lesson of, again, it's not what you know, it's who you know. He picks the phone up, calls the chief down there of pediatrics, the #1 in utero high risk OB in the country, and happens to be his friend. And he says, hey, my insurance agent's son, mother, expected son has got these problems. I want you to see him. He said, sure, come down here tomorrow morning. And this was at 4:00 in the afternoon. And there's just no way you typically get in there, but yep, came down. And that doctor,
Dane, how many weeks pregnant is your wife?
She was like 24 at this time. And okay, they kept banging the drum that you guys get and I don't even know the exact date. So if there's somebody that's going to jump on here and change, but in Ohio, to terminate a pregnancy, we were up against whatever. And they start saying, if you go another week, you're going to have to go to Pennsylvania. You're going to have to go. And the whole time, no offense, it's not anything that we wanted to discuss. You know, we didn't want to discuss
Right.
getting rid of it and starting over. But I see him and starting over. We wanted to know what was in there. So again, I went down there and here's their heartbeat. Here's this. They're going through these different things. And I'm like, okay. And the doctor said, Dane, what are you after? And I said, I want some assurances that he's going to be all right. He said, are you kidding me right now? And this is exactly what I needed though. This doctor said, look, you're going to have a son. He's going to have kidney problems. He's going to battle those lifelong. You got to decide right now. Is this your family? Is it not your family? And you got to make that decision. Doctors, I don't think, talk to people that way anymore, or don't do it enough, right? And we left there and said, honey, whatever's in the cards, we're gonna go. She made it to about 32, 33 weeks, to where he had no more amniotic fluid around it. They had the same doctor. My client, we go in on the 23rd or 24th of December. We were going to fly out. I got a bunch of family that lives in Southern California in Dana Point. We were going to fly out there, which we've been out there a dozen times. And let's go out there, our final kind of trip before we don't know what's going on. Are we going to be on home dialysis? Is our life, whatever it is, it's the unknown that scares you. Anyway, from that point, he said, hey, she's getting low. We'd like to bring her in tomorrow night. So we're talking Christmas Eve and induce labor and get him going. I was like, all right. I made my then 6-year-old son go out in the hallway. And I said, Doc, 2 things. One, he still believes in Santa Claus right now. He does. And this might be our last so what normal Christmas. And 2, where'd you graduate in your class? He said, I was at the very top. I said, okay. Who works on Christmas and Christmas Eve? The very top doctors or the C- people that just got in? And he said, yeah, we don't have the number 1 staff here. I said, is there any chance we can wait? And he said, yep. So we went home, had our Christmas, came back in on 27th. He was born, or it came out on the 28th. He was born the very next morning, like the 29th at 1 a.m. Almost no labor. Like literally when they started and induced her, it was a couple pushes. He came out. They
didn't do a C-section. They didn't do a C-section.
Nope. They tried,
Wow.
they jump started a cold car is what they said. They gave her the Pitocin and started the contractions. I knew 2 things at the time. One, if he comes out crying, he's got lungs. He's got lungs, he can breathe. If he doesn't cry, there's nothing they can do with it. So he came out, he weighed 5 pounds, which wasn't terrible. But then when they extracted all the urine, they got a full pound of urine out of him. So he really weighed 4 pounds. A quarter of his body, or a fifth of his body weight, 20% of his body weight was just fluid that had been backed up. What had happened then, or what happens is,
hey Dane, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question real quick. So you're saying, I didn't know this, but what you're saying is the embryonic sac, how that thing stays with liquid, is in a normal baby, in a normal birth, when the baby pees, that sac that's the fluid that it's recycled, and that's your swimming pool water. But you're saying because the urethra was closed, so what was in the sac then? If it wasn't
just whatever he had before that valve was closed up. I mean, we were measuring it in cc's.
Wow.
There's a little pocket here. There's a little bit here, and he's got to have enough in there.
There wasn't any draining through. That's crazy that he made it to 33 weeks.
And if they catch it early enough, they'll go in utero and bust it open then, or come right through the mother's abdomen.
So they'll do the surgery on the baby. Okay.
They'll try,
but they didn't catch it soon enough for your son? He
was too far along. And here's the thing, the damage is irreversible. So your kidneys are hanging up here, and there's like 2 hair-like, just like pieces of spaghetti that come down and insert in the top of your bladder. Your bladder's then round and pushes out, and then below that's your urethra. for us. His kidneys would make it, come down, couldn't go anywhere, so it just would reroute it to the other kidney. So the other kidney was massive, just a big storage bank of urine. And by the time they drained it, just think of a balloon just pulling all the air out, just whoop, there's nothing there. And then this one does all the work it can possibly do. Breaking that, you know, so they, as soon as he was born, they broke through the valve to cath him, drain him. You know, he cried. They whisked him away. There was maybe
through
30
the penis.
people
Do
in
they
the
break
room.
do they break the valve through the penis? Is that how they do
They
it?
did. They went right through with a catheter.
Okay.
When it broke it.
Okay.
So there was, you know,
Okay.
again, and then, like I said, there must have been 30 people in the room. It was not like, hey, just going to be an intimate moment. What's going on? And then they whisked him away. We were at the Cleveland Clinic at the time, and she's in one building now, and about a half a mile away, he's in another building, right? And we're trying to go back and forth through that. He might have been 2 days old, and they did the ablation surgery where they went in and then took the valve and completely ablated it, and then put nephrostomy tubes in him. So they put tubes right into the back of his kidneys, allowing his urinary tract and everything just to calm down, because it had been working and trying to get this stuff out forever. And so then what happens is his bladder is extremely strong, but low capacity. It's kind of like if your nose ever swells up, it doesn't swell up, it swells in. And your bladder, as it was working, that muscle, it was just the wall was getting thicker and thicker, or stronger and stronger. So it deformed up a little bit too. Hence, we go to it since he's been 11 months old.
I have the same bladder. I have the same bladder. I have a low capacity strong.
Well, there you go. And so we've dealt with that since, again, he was born. What's that? I might have lost you, Savan.
Nothing. Keep going. Keep going.
So from that point, I think, you know, he spent 40 days in the NICU. We bring him home. Again, if you've never done that, you're supposed to have your children either at home or at the hospital, then bring them home with you. Leaving a kid behind in the hospital is another thing that puts a layer of armor on you as a dad, as a parent, as a mother. And anyway, I remember, you know, a couple things I learned in life, and one of them was you know, we would go up every day to see him, and we drove separately. So we were going up 30 miles. It was $10, $12 a vehicle to park per day, you know, type of thing. And I remember, and his rounds would be at 9 a.m. The doctors would come through and do that stuff. And there was 6 babies per room in the NICU. And about the, I don't know, second week, the one nurse said, he's going to be fine. And I said, well, how do you know? She said, because you guys are both here and you're here every day. She said, this one over here, no one's visited him yet. And it breaks your heart, right? You know, it just does.
Right.
And next to us, there was a physician that his child was in there, had a heart issue. And they were in a different boat than us. We had known now for 15, 20 weeks, we were going to have this baby that had this issue. Their baby was born thinking it was going to be healthy, and they got hit with news, right? So everybody is kind of fighting a battle that you don't really always know what's going on there, right? Anyway, the one doctor had called me on a Friday night. I was on the treadmill at home. I was going to lose 50 pounds overnight. I'm going to run and get in shape. And
why? Don,
Dane,
Dane, were you losing the 50 pounds because you knew already that you were going to donate the kidney? Is that what you're doing?
I wanted to be a candidate for it, and I was nowhere near at all. And then I'll get there. The first meeting we had about transplant, but I was going to start, and Jen was going to do her CrossFit, and I was going to show her that all you needed was an elliptical or a treadmill, and this is what you do to get in shape, right? And anyway, the one urologist had called at night. It was 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And I was like, oh, shit, this is not good, right? I mean, you're getting a call from a doctor. We were there most of the day. And she just said, hey, Mr. Donaldson, I want to tell you before I leave here and I won't see you over the weekend, from my perspective, Tanner's doing really well. And I just wanted you to know that. That was another life lesson for me. Again, people waiting on information all the time. And because I don't have anything new to give you sometimes, like let's say in my insurance business, we're waiting on a claim, you're waiting on it. And I don't have anything new, but if I could reach out and say, hey, Savant, they still don't have an answer for you, but I didn't want you to go all weekend thinking we weren't thinking of you. So I picked up something very good from that person. And just a life lesson that a lot of times she didn't relay anything new or bad or good. It's just, hey, from my perspective, he's doing fine. I don't want you to go all weekend not hearing from me. Great. We finally get him home. He's about 11 months old, and they tell us, hey, he's going to need a catheter every 3 hours. I said, okay, for how long?
Wait a second. You didn't get him home till he was 11 months old?
No. We brought him home in 40 days.
Okay.
Now we're dealing with him, trying to get it, get him to grow. He was 4 pounds, 3 ounces. We brought him home, fits from here to here on you, right? And again, trying hard not to lose my older son because all the attention's now on the one that's got the issues, right? And and there's already a generation gap between them. 6 years is a long time, and so
and your oldest boy loves his parents more than anything, and now he's seeing his parents who are wounded. Kids hate to see, my kids don't even want to see me. They start crying if they see me get on a skateboard. They think I'm going to hurt myself. They'll start crying. Yeah.
And to see their mom or dad who, against crying or just me, I like to control things, and you realize that's not in my control, right? There's just it's not. So he was about 11 months old, and we're kind of navigating through this stuff. And they called and said he's going to need a catheter. And I said, okay, and I said, for how long? Well, for the rest of his life. I was like, for the rest of his life? Yeah, like every 3 hours. I was like, and I said, well, here's the deal. His bladder is so strong, it is a bit deformed. Those two hair-like the ureters that come from the kidneys are all stretched out, and they kind of come in the side of his bladder, not at the top, because the bladder grew up because it couldn't go down past the pelvic bone. So when he does express, it can push it back up in there, making him susceptible to urinary tract infections because it would just pool over to the side and he's not getting the toxins out. Well, that was a big shock. We went through a woe is me, you don't understand anything, and again, my wife and I, we tend to, let's just roll with it, do what we got to do. We break it through that. We go have our first sit down counseling about transplant. And he might have been 2.5 years old. Go ahead.
Okay. So you actually do that from 11 months to 2.5 years. You put a catheter.
11 months still to today. To today, he still has to do it.
Okay.
So, and I give the little kid his credit. We've moved to where he's doing it now. I'll circle back to this, but my wife, very competitive in the CrossFit space, gets up and has gotten up, unless she's not here, at 3 a.m. every night for the past 11 years. So her sleep gets broken up no matter where we're at, unless we get our 4 days of the games or something like that. Then grandma or grandpa have to do it for him. But he can go about a max of 4 or 5 hours in between it.
Okay.
He can go to the bathroom on his own. But if we did that over and over and over, he's going to end up with a urinary tract infection. And in 11 years, in 11 years, he's been hospitalized once for it, which is remarkable. Think of all the times he's got a foreign object going in him, right? Yeah. So he was about 2.5, and we went for our first, let's talk about kidney transplant for Tanner. Tanner at the time was put at when we were getting ready to put him on the list. He had nothing else wrong with him. So meaning he was a perfect candidate for this once he got big enough. And I learned that a lot that it's a business too. We had insurance. they saw that we were there together, that his survivability would be better, and they want to be able to tell any hospital we have a 99% success rate for 10 years or whatever it is, right? They want all those matrix points, and they get there by making sure the people that they bring in and qualify for fit everything they're looking for. Anyway, the doctor's sitting across from us, and we're talking about transplant. And, I'm bulking up, saving up for the winter, ready to go on Survivor. I'll last the longest because I got the most fat to lose. And he keeps talking to her about possible donors. And I said, hey, hold on for a second. I'm your guy. And he said, Dane,
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude, but without putting a blood pressure cuff on you, and without, taking a look at your insulin levels, I don't think you're going to be the one we want it from. And we left that meeting, and I was in tears. I turned to my wife. I said, I've failed you as a husband, and I'm failing these fucking kids as a father, period. Because I can't control what's going from this plate to my mouth. And I apologize. What do I need to do? And it was shortly after that, here I go. I'm going to join. I got her LASIK. She's going to go do that. I go get rhabdo. I come back and said, all right, clearly that isn't the right path. And we started going down the path together, and we were at another gym for a couple years. And again, Jen got pretty competitive in a gym right next to us. One of the owners, same age group, same level of skill, a little better at some things, not as good at the other, but they were the fittest two women in Ohio from 45 through 50 every year. And then from 50 through 54, they still are. It's hard to find two in the same gym, same age group, same everything that, matter of fact, when they did the team competition, when CrossFit used to do that, they won all 7 events. They weren't just first place. They won all 7 events. So she wanted to go there and work out. But all my buddies were at my first CrossFit gym. And I eventually said, hey, I'm going with Jen, and went over there. And I've been at that gym since 2018, which is just great. The first gym I was at, CrossFit Spirit, though, is where I did my first and ever Whole 30. And that was the first time I ever basically did CrossFit, where I not only did the workouts, but I put the nutrition plan together, and 30 days, like 18 pounds. And I was really kind of pissed about it, to tell you the truth, meaning like I didn't want nutrition to have that big an impact on the body. I wanted it to be just the grunt. I didn't want it to be the 23 hours a day you're not working. Right. So anyway, that's our nucleus of our family. And when I'd run into Greg at the games a few years ago, this might have been the last year he owned the company, I think. And we were in the Madison Club up on the outside terrace there, and he was standing there, and I'm just like I came up and started talking to you. Worst case scenario, you say, hey, leave me alone. Nice to meet you. And you move on, and I still got good seats at the games, and let's go, And so I just said, hey, I just want to thank you for not only impacting and saving my life, but most likely saving my son's life. And I knew it was a hard tagline that he had to say, wait, what do you mean? And I said, I started into CrossFit to become fit, to lose weight, to be able to be the approved donor, because my son's going to need a kidney at some point in time in his life. And I was 240 pounds and metabolically completely out of shape. And after 4.5 years of doing it, they approved me. I weigh 190 pounds. Everything was good. And he is on the list, and I'm his approved donor. And maybe it would have happened another way, but I don't know how it would have, because I wouldn't have found the track to get on and the community to stay with and those things to do. And I just said, Greg, I thank you. And I thought that was the end of it. The next day, as I was walking by, he remembered my name, which was very nice. You did the same thing, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. He said, do you have a minute? I said, I do. He said,
I remembered your name.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
You did. Not meaning like after the first time we met there, and then the next day he said, Dane, right? And I said, yes. And they're like, okay.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
God,
you
I'm a
did
good
good.
dude. All right.
You did good.
I
You
just
get a
wanted to
smelly
say,
sticker.
I wanted to savor that for a minute.
So Greg's like, you got a second? I said, I do. And he said, can you share your story with these doctors? And I said, yes. And if you remember right, this was when he was kicking off CrossFit Health. And there was a few doctors that were into keto and some that were into that, right? And they were all there at the Madison Club. Anyway, he said, I don't want to take away from, I don't think I tell the story as well as you did. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. So we went in and I just told him all that. And he, you know, and way Greg does, and I want to say he said something like, and this is the reason why I created CrossFit, not for this. And he had his back to the games the whole time in the field, right? And it is the impact that we have here. I still enjoy.
Dane, will you hold on a second?
Yeah.
Listen, you jackasses. His name is Dane Donaldson. I get a pass on calling him Don. How about you shut the fuck up? Okay, sorry. Let's proceed. All right.
Yep. And
okay, so at the Madison Club.
Yeah, and so that part was, hey, there we went, met Greg, got my picture, and we had always, again, that was like our time that we would go away together, other than maybe a little bit anniversary. Our kids went with us everywhere for obvious reasons, right? But the games we'd go, and we've been maybe 7-8 times, and anyway, that world was kind of, that's where we hung until, you know, on a topic that you talk a lot about, till COVID hit. And then our world just broke in half at that point in time. And I can get into that part too, if you want to.
Yep, we're gonna get to that. That's the part that really blows me away. Matt Burns, Sebon's triggered. Listen, guys, listen. If you're gonna say I'm triggered, I need a rating between 1 and 10. I don't want just triggered. Was it a 4.6? Was it a 9.2? Just tell me I'm triggered. Rank me. I expect a ranking. Lazy triggered. Yeah, and so that's the part when I met you that you told me that really got me all riled up. So I want just to refresh. From being in the in the mama's belly, there was an issue. Baby's born. Had in the
You're cutting out there, partner.
Because of the issues I'm back. Because of the issues they had in the wound, some of the things grew deformed. Some of the kidneys grew deformed. The bladder grew deformed, and some of the tubes grew deformed. And the boy's been using a catheter to drain urine out. And at 2.5 years old, you meet with doctors to get a kidney transplant. And that's when he looks at you and says, "You're fat as fuck, Dane." And then at that point, you're like, "Okay, I'm going to get in shape." And how old's the boy now?
He's 11 right now. Still on the list.
He's 11. Okay. Okay. So what happens after he's 2.5 and you guys decide you're going to do the transplant, and then you decide you're going to get in shape so you can give him one of your kidneys? Tell me about that journey.
So what we talked about is doing something called preemptive transplant, meaning that we weren't going to wait for him to get in such a place that he was going to need dialysis and do all that. So we were going to get all the players ready. So they tested both my wife and I for matches. So just because I want to donate doesn't mean you can, right? So did we match? We both matched 4 out of 5 markers of what they look at on a blood panel. 5 out of 5 would be the very best you would get, typically a sibling, but not always. The more markers you meet for the kidney and blood type, the less anti-rejection medication they need. And those anti-rejection medications, it just basically destroys your immune system. It means anything that gets in your body is allowed in. That's all, because it's allowing a foreign organ to be in their body. So the fact that we were both a 4 out of 5 was great. Then it came down to, do we are a match, now do we qualify? Both of us went through and we both qualified. When that was, he was probably 5 or 6. And the reason we did it then, that was his one and only urinary tract infection, which got him pretty sick. He went into the hospital and his levels dropped to like 15. So we were allowed to, he was put on the list at that point in time. As soon as he recovered, it went back up to like 20% where he kind of hangs out, but it put him on the list. he was on the list. Now, let me back up. He was on the list, and I was going to be certified the following week. And I got a phone call on a Friday afternoon, and it was the clinic saying, there's been an accident. We have a kidney. We need Tanner downtown right now. And he was like 5 or 6 years old. And I was like, whoa, okay. We just had this long conversation that a living donor is better than a deceased donor. Is that right? And she's like, I don't have time for your questions. We need to make a decision. I was like, can I have 30 seconds? And she said, yep. And I hung up with the doctor, talked to my wife, and we ended up passing on that particular kidney. And the reason being was he was in no immediate danger. I was going to get tested on the following Monday, knowing that a living donor is better than a deceased donor. And we knew that somebody else might be in worse shape right now that needed it. So I passed on that kidney and then and I went through the process. And the moment I was approved, we moved Tanner from on the list, but over to a side, just racking up points and years on there, but not accepting any deceased donors. So everybody else got to, again, he's there. He's in position 1A. If we ever needed it, he's just going to slide right over. So that was at 5, 6 years old. I would go back every year, 18 months, and get recertified. I'm in good shape, checking everything.
Don, excuse me. Dane, once you were certified, why didn't you just do it?
Because the longer he can go on it, that's a great question. The longer he can go on his native kidney without the anti-rejection medications, it's going to be better for him. There's only a lifespan about an average of 15 to 18 years from a transplant. So again, if he can go 20 years and then a transplant, he's going to be 40 and then 60 and hope, and who knows what happens then. So that was the reason. Okay. His body parts, as bad as they are still better than taking one of mine and then filling him up full of meds, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that was all kind of going on. And, I'll say my wife was ahead of the curve on all this. And, we're just kind of holding steady. Things are good. Here comes COVID, right? And it hits everybody a little different. The propaganda machine was in full effect with the amount of deaths, cases, this going on, shuts downs, can't go over there. I just had went in that February to do my recert. And so he would have been 9 at the time or so, or 8. And the surgeon I had been working with that watched me go from, fat Dane to less fat Dane said, hey, you ever think about scheduling this? And I said, I don't know. Do you think we should? All the information you guys ever gave me was let's just let this thing play out, stay ready. When it's time, we'll go. And I said, but I appreciate it. And he's like, yeah. And I left there late February, again, ready to go. And he's fine at home. I want to say it was maybe September when the first news broke of some lady in Colorado being denied a transplant because she didn't take the COVID vaccine, right? And a buddy of mine said, do you ever think that would happen to you? I said, I can't imagine it would. I've been approved for 5 years. It's my own son. They're not going to come and stand in the way of me giving my kidney to him over a vaccine that's an experiment. I said, you
didn't give your son the COVID vaccine?
Oh, no. Originally when it was rolling out, it was said, hey, it's for elderly and those with comorbidities. I thought, I'm being a good guy. I'll just wait till the EAU is over, the emergency authorized, authorized use is over, which would have made it in 2022 or 23 of January. And I'll let everybody that's sick or elderly get theirs, and I'm not going to clog the system. I'll wait till the end. Well, it wasn't much longer. My wife started digging deep into it, and she became, this one of those, mama bears that you hear so much about. And she's digging through all this information. And again, I don't want to say we were anti-vax. I had everything. And then in the Army, they shot me up with shit I can't even tell you. I mean, I went over to Korea 3 different times on temporary duty, and I was always behind on the shot clinic. So they would give me 7, 8 shots at one time, throw me on an airplane, and I was sick as hell for a week, you know? So, but as an adult, I never went and took a flu shot. I just didn't. Our oldest has, sparingly had any, and our youngest, we had whatever they made him get that day, and then that was it. And it was only because we just, again, my wife, I told you, she was removing aluminum, she's removing fluoride, she's going down this path of trying to be as healthy as possible. And anyway, I get the letter that says, Dane, please, you're going to be removed from the donor list if you do not comply and get the COVID vaccine. So I called for a meeting with the head of the Cleveland Clinic and said, can we sit down and talk about this? They said, sure. I brought their own study in that showed that if you had the COVID virus, you had a better natural immunity than if you got the synthetic shot. That was their study. I brought it all in and said, here, this is you guys. And you know, and here is, I paid extra to have a T-cell test results that showed that I had the virus and my body handled it fine. There was no concern. And at this time, remember, the drumbeat was if you got the shot, you never got COVID and you couldn't pass it to anybody, right? That was the, this is why you have to do it. So, you know, my wife is crying and I'm like, are we serious right now that you're going to take the best option for my son and remove it off the table? Well, Dane, you can go to another hospital, donate your kidney, and we'll fly it here and put it in him. I was like, and that's optimal? What risks are we talking about here? And they're like, well, you could get COVID on the operating table. I'm like, but if you had the vaccine and you had the vaccine and you had it, and I've already had COVID, how in the world would I get it? Well, you got to understand our hospital policy, and you could get the Johnson & Johnson, you could get the AstraZeneca. They just kept going back to their talking points. And
so they couldn't answer your question. Basically, they couldn't answer your questions.
Not even close.
Right.
And
right.
and when I posed it a little different was, how do here's what my wife asked, that was the breaker. Is there any chance that he takes the vaccine, he's healthy today, he takes it, and then he can't donate because of now heart issue or another issue? Is there any chance of that whatsoever? Well, there's a small chance, but I said, okay, so there's no upside potential and it's all risk, right? I mean, think about it. Who plays those odds? And I was just, again, originally I started out of trying to be a nice guy, saying I'll just let everyone go first. But as more information came out, I said, I don't ever want to touch the thing, right? And so we had.
Hey, I want to tell you a quick story. I want to tell you a quick story real quick, just really quick. My wife needed a new meniscus. And for the insurance to pay for it, they had to go in and prove that the old meniscus wasn't there. But she had already had like 3 or 4 surgeries that removed that meniscus. But for some reason, before they gave you the insurance, they needed another doctor to go in and say it wasn't there. And the other doctor's like, but wait, I took that fucking meniscus out. Like, I'll tell you it's there. And they're like, no, the insurance protocol is that this doctor has to go in and see that it's not there. So when that doctor went in, and she had to have an extra surgery to go in and see, like orthoscopic, whatever they do, to see that the meniscus wasn't there. And during that time, a cadaver meniscus became available in a window that was too close for her to get it, because after you have the orthoscopic surgery, you have to give a break for a window before you can have another surgery. But they're like, hey, the cadaver's ready. So they rushed the implant of the cadaver meniscus. My wife got such a bad infection that she almost had to have her leg amputated. It was so fucking scary. And you know, that went on for like 3 months of her legs swelling and all sorts of crazy shit. But it reminds me of what they're saying. They have a loophole that if you would have had they were willing to do the kidney transplant, but only if you jump through this bizarre loophole that had the kidney pulled out at a different hospital and then transferred by car over to this other hospital. I mean, this is fucking insanity.
Or helicopter. I could go to Columbus.
We're not talking about trying not to. We're not trying to. We're talking about trying to not pay taxes on a bottle of alcohol where you go to the state next door,
right?
Or try to buy a weed from a dispensary at the state next door and then bring it over. We're talking about someone's life.
Well, I said, hey, if I was killed in a car accident, would you guys harvest my kidney, put the injection in it, a COVID-19, and bring it? Well, no. Okay. Again, it didn't make
that's a great point. That's a good point.
Right? It made
okay.
zero
Okay.
sense.
So basically they tell you you can't. So they tell you can't be a donor because you're not vaccinated.
Correct. They're going to remove me from being his donor. So that happened. At the same time, I said my wife was one of these mama bears. She had been working with like these medical freedom fighters because she saw this coming like way before I did. And I'm talking, if you've never heard of like a Dr. McCullough or who's the other one I'm thinking of that he was on Rogan that invented the mRNA shot. Anyway, it'll come to me. But one of Dr. McCullough's nurses was working with my wife, and they were behind the scenes helping somebody else out. And Jen had said, man, this is what's going on with us. And she said, I can't believe that. And she reached out to a gentleman that has a nonprofit called the Dr. Robert Malone. Thank you, Brett. That's who it was. So Jen was working like with some of these nurses that were part of this, that these people leading up to it were known as the world's greatest medical minds. And because they didn't immediately jump on board with the vaccine, they were pushed out of the medical community almost, right? Trying to pull their licenses and do these things. And again, I always think about, I had COVID. I'm not saying that it was about a 6 out of a 10 out of a flu scale for me, and not anything I changed in my life over. So I wasn't about to take a vaccine that did not prevent transmission, did not prevent me from getting it if I already had it and I made it through just fine. So anyway, her working with these people, there was a big nonprofit, gentleman by the name of Del Bigtree owns, he does a podcasting show called The High Wire.
He's an amazing man. What an amazing man.
They got a hold of it and reached out to us. And they reached out to us with a major law firm, Siri Glimstead, and Aaron Siri, who is probably the #1 attorney when it comes to vaccine injury lawsuits. He, I want to say, litigated one of the major cases that helped OSHA drop the mandate. Right in there, not playing around with it, but litigating it to the Supreme Court, or just underneath it, that got it overturned. Anyway, through Del Bigtree's nonprofit, The High Wire, they asked if they could have this law firm reach out to us. And the attorney, Elizabeth, I'll just first name on there, she had reached out to us and talked to us about our story, or about our situation, and told us up front that the Cleveland Clinic can do whatever they want, that there is nothing illegal about them doing this. And I'm a law-abiding, I'm like, yep. She said, but I think we might win in the court of public opinion and put enough pressure on them to change, because of it does not look good that they had this family, son, father, for 6 years approved, just waiting on it, and then they're going to pull the rug out or make a different demand on it. And again, I've heard every argument from both sides. So anybody that wants to say, just take the damn shot and give it to them, I've heard all that, and that's not going to happen. Not at this stage anyway, not even close. But they reached out and said, can we take your case? And I said, sure. And I said, I can't bankrupt my family. I said, we actually want to do this pro bono. I said, all right. And we weren't looking for any money whatsoever, or weren't trying to, do anything else other than call attention to this, what we thought was ludicrous, right? What does it matter to them that I'm not giving my kidney to somebody else, not to you or anyone. This was going to my son. I did everything, the 5 a.m. workouts for 5 years, and the change of lifestyle was all done for a purpose. Well, not just for Tanner. My oldest son, Ryder, needs a father as long as he can need one too. I want to be there. So it was about extending my life, but doing the right things there. And I said, yeah, that'd be fine. And we started going down and, of course, wrote a letter to them. And in the same time, Del Bigtree sent an individual to our house and spent about 9 hours filming a documentary. I actually sent it to you, and I can get you the link again if you ever want to put it up and somebody can go watch it.
Yes, please.
They did a great job. It's about 40 minutes, but he breaks down this part of what we're talking about. And it's fantastic. Anyway, when that story hits and it goes out, now it's national. And not just national. I get a call from the Epoch Times, and they have 40 million worldwide subscribers, and it hits there. And I got it's a judicial online forum reaches out to me, and they did an interview. And then here came the local news. I mean, the good people in the United States and around the world shut down the ombudsman department at the Cleveland Clinic with so many phone calls, on our behalf. And that's one side of the table. But you can imagine, guess what's on the other side of the table? The pro-vax get it. We had people threaten to take our children away, that you guys are awful parents. There's no way this guy should be a father. This was at the time before Elon bought Twitter too. And I didn't realize when somebody says a bot, and what does that mean, right? So there was the amount of messaging coming on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter of just, I hope you die. I know where you live. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to try to get those kids out of this household from you. What kind of parent would you be? And it was,
wow.
And then they systematically went after my insurance agency and started doing 1-star Google reviews that were coming from Russia. I mean, all these servers all over the place. And, right after the story hit, we were driving to Pigeon
Wait,
Forge.
they attacked your business, Dane?
Oh, when they got together, this core said, this is how we'll get him. We'll hit him here, and start driving down his numbers, talking about how bad he is at his job. And it's not an indirect, it's a direct. It's draining my finances if I'm losing customers or don't even get them because they go somewhere and they see and they're like, and none of them were my customers. They just would post something like, awful human being, won't save his son, gonna let him die of kidney failure. That was their synopsis. So that was the short part of story that they took out of this 45-minute, 7-year battle that we got to this point. And again, at the time before that, the clinic never asked me one time about any vaccine I'd ever had, not one. And so this is going on. The local news comes out to the house, and, the first one, I could tell she did not agree with me at all. It was not an interview. It was an interrogation. And when it was all said and done, Jen was just getting ready to turn 50. So I took another $1 million life insurance out on her from 50 to 70. And I said to her, I said, hey, look over here. I said, see her playing ball in the yard with my son? She said, yep. I said, hey, she just got underwritten for another $1 million on top of whatever else we have. I said, and we're the largest life writer in the country, or write more applications than any other insurance company for life insurance. And she came back elite preferred, meaning that she is in a class of 0.4% of the general population, from a company that says, we'll accept your money because we don't think she's going to die. Now, if they thought that vaccine was so important, shouldn't they said, nope, she's a standard risk, or she's table rated, or we don't want any part of that? Because, man, if she gets COVID because she doesn't have the vaccine, again, this was very early on in all this, they would have said, can't have it. And I want to say that I changed that journalist's opinion like that. And it would almost just yeah, why would an insurance company do that? Because we're in the business of what? Trying to actuarially know what you're going to pay out, right? So you collect
Right.
money, then you go out. So there you have. And I have taken enough calls, certainly now, of people that died instantly of heart attacks and those things that, like, wait a minute, was they even sick? No, just said it just came out of nowhere. You know, it happens all the time. They just died suddenly. I'm like, but it was an enormous amount. And I was taking these calls over and over. And I always ask the same thing. I said, Sevy, you mind? I got to ask you a question. I'm sorry that you lost your wife. Can I ask you a question, though? And they said, sure. Let's say, did either of you happen to get that vaccine for COVID? Yeah, we both got it. That had nothing to do with it because I'm fine. Okay, hey, you're right. I'm sorry I even asked. And I just kind of kept a check mark over to the side, right? And, you know, and again, this early on. And then I got another phone call from a producer that was out in California that said, hey, I watched the High Wire and I watched your show or the show. And I used to produce for CNN in the airport and the Today Show or a couple other things. And he said, we started a podcast a week or two ago. And the first one that we did was on, I didn't know you, Dane, but was on you and Tanner. I said, okay. And it was all about, and we're not going to go deep in this, the money trail from the vaccine manufacturers. And they picked out certain hospitals and how much money they had flowing in there to have X amount of employees and patients be vaccinated. And the Cleveland Clinic was one of them, right? So again, from what I remember, this has been now 3-4 years ago, we discussed it, but he went into saying, you know, it was no wonder when you come and say, man, I think I broke my finger. Well, let's test you for COVID. Oh, let's give you the vaccine. Bam, there's another $100 or whatever that is on top of everything else, right?
Yep.
And it was, I lost faith in the system. I was like, you got to be kidding me. You know, I just thought it was a group of bunch of bad doctors with bad science saying, well, this is the best we know. This is where we're going to move forward. Not that if you pull the curtain down, it was about who was getting paid and how much, right? So he had run that one and it was just, it had blown my mind again. So then he had called me and said, hey, would you do it? So I went on and did another couple hours with him and we talked long and hard about it. But it was, it was a giant mess. And where we sit today is, well, I'm aging. I'll be 54 here in a couple of weeks. And Tanner's still on the list. He is approved at the Cleveland Clinic, as well as Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus. But Nationwide does not like the makeup of neither of my wife or I. We each have multiple arteries in our kidneys, and they're surgeons. I don't want to say it's a workaround for us not getting the vaccine, but they do not like the fact that we have multiple arteries in each kidney to give to an adolescent. So at this point in time, he does not have an official donor, but we're still very confident in figuring things out, so to speak. So
Dane, is the vaccine still required at Cleveland Clinic?
No, they dropped that now.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
it was a time period about 36 months, and so let me tell you some of the racket going on. So literally, when the week I had COVID, I was working right here in the same office. I'm about 30 minutes from my office, so once a week I work from home. But I got COVID, and the only reason I knew, and not to mention, the only test I've ever taken is I had a colonoscopy, so I had to go take the test to get it. And they called me and said, hey, stop drinking the juice. You got COVID. You can't come in. And I didn't feel great. And I'm like, that makes sense. And so I'm just home working. And I was doing a review with a client. And she was a nurse at the Cleveland Clinic. And I simply said, hey, we did our normal business transaction stuff, talking to her. And I asked her a question. And this was the time that, if you remember, the media said our emergency rooms are filled up with non-vaccinated people that don't care about society. Remember all that was going on? It's overrun by the unvaxxed. I said, is that true? And she said, we're overrun by sick people. is what we're overrun. People that don't take care of themselves, that never taken care of themselves, whether or not they had the vaccine, I can't tell you. And I said, yeah, I don't even want to tell you what's going on with me. And she said, I know, the whole hospital knows, Dane. And with this a major hospital, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I said, and I had mentioned, I said, I actually have COVID right now. And I'm doing the Joe Rogan protocol. We had ivermectin saved up. We had, vitamin D, vitamin C, all that stuff. And I went through it 4 days and felt fine. And it's more of a testament, I think, to that illness, wellness, fitness paradigm than it was anything else that was brought in there. But from that part, I asked her, I said, can I ask you a question? Did you have to take the vaccine? And she said, no. I said, you didn't. How do you work there? And she said, well, they got rid of all of us nurses that didn't take the vaccine. And then they hired us back as 1099 contractors and paid us twice as much.
Oh,
so
my
they
God.
were able to
Oh,
say,
my God.
they were able to say our employees are at 95% vaccinated, right? Well, what happened is, imagine being on a nurse's shift that you and I both have worked together forever. You go home at night and are terminated, but when you come back the next week, you're getting $140 an hour and I'm making $70 an hour, right? And that's what ended up happening. That's where the traveling nurses started going. They weren't employees, they were contractors. And again, I might be off on the dollar amount or something like that, but I know she was making twice as much. She said, I got paid twice as much, and I'm not an official employee of the clinic. But she was making bank. She was making very good money for living around here. And I'm not knocking it, but it came with that part. We had a girl at our gym that was a nurse, and the moment that the balloon went up in New York City and they were closing everything down and Trump brought in the medical ships, she drove to New York to be a COVID nurse. She came back and said, man, the unhealthy are just getting crushed. It had nothing to do with who had a vaccine, who didn't have a vaccine. So all that stuff played into my mind. Again, I started with getting in the very back of the line, but as more people went through the turnstile to get it, I just kept getting in the back of the line until I had enough information that says, this does not improve my health. Matter of fact, if you listen to the experts now, or at least the doctors I listen to, whether it be, McCullough, Malone, or Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, all of them, they said this does not improve your health. And I don't mean to, people that are out there that took it. I think of my buddies, I had people that took it for many reasons. Most of them got forced to at work. If you want to keep your job, this is what's got to happen, right? Thankfully, I'm an independent contractor, and never was brought down on me. But believe me, the same bots and people that were pissed I didn't take it called our corporate headquarters. How can this guy represent you when he won't do the right thing? So in their mind, they're trying to oust me out of my career.
Hey, do you think the medical industry funds those people to do that? That they have organizations that are paid for by, like, Pfizer has an organization that they donate, via some nonprofit that goes after people. I would bet the fucking house on it.
I think a lot of it comes from disruption and chaos. And, behind that is George Soros and all those different entities that flow into it, right?
Yep.
I actually went down, Savan, too. Robert Kennedy Jr., for his children's health defense, came to Ohio. And this was right after this all had blown up. And on that panel was Dr. McCullough, Dr. Malone, a couple other doctors, 5 different nurses that took the shot that were either paralyzed, couldn't function every day, all kinds. One husband was just talking about, his wife had passed away. The gentleman out of Houston that his 16-year-old son took the vaccine and died the next day. He was on this. So they spoke, and then they had me wrap it all up, right? So they gave every reason and the bad things that happened to them. Then the doctors spoke about why it was happening, why our bodies, every one of us are different. You react different to a Tylenol than I would, but yet on this particular vaccine, it's going to be universal for everybody. And I wrapped it up with, these are the reasons why I'm standing my ground and doing these things. And, but when I left there were people in that hallway that were livid, that whether it's the lobbyists that get paid because they don't want the stories out, right? So I think there is something to it. And again, I have very good friends. I don't want a single one of my buddies, anything to happen to them that took it, and I mean, it was as dumb as reasons that I wanted to go to a concert. I want to travel, all these things that went away anyway, right? I've been to concerts and I've traveled. It was, and I have a lot, and my buddies have a lot of respect for me. They're like, man, I don't know if I could have hung on like you. And I was like, wait, Tanner, although there's an issue there, he was never in immediate danger. I would have drove him to Florida, Texas. I would have found a place. We would have went to Mexico. We would have went somewhere that common sense prevailed over it. And, so that whole part of it, when I spoke there and, and briefly met Dr. McCullough, and he's like, I've heard about your story and it's a tragedy. I just don't think it's going to end there. And he was right. It continued for some time. And then, our own House of Representatives here, I went down probably earlier this year and spoke on a patient's bill of rights to be able to right to refuse, that they can't deny you services based on any vaccine status. And you would think it'd be a no-brainer, but it's not. It's who pays for the politicians. It is a massive, massive bureaucracy of pharmaceuticals, right? I mean,
is Tanner so if you got a call, are you expecting a call at any time now to
no,
whenever
that's
where they
not
say,
how it works.
hey, we have someone who matches 5 out of 5 markers, bring Tanner down?
If we move him to so we'd be open, it's very challenging. I'll say this the best we can. If it's not going to be my wife or I, we certainly want somebody that hasn't had that particular vaccine, right? The COVID vaccine. Beggars can't be choosers. We're not begging yet. We would love to be able to, again, if it can't be us because we're using nationwide.
So why don't you go down? So why don't you go down to the Cleveland Clinic and do yourself right now?
Well, a little bit of a pride thing. I guess I'm pissed off at them at the moment and haven't went and recertified there.
Okay.
We may,
but you could do it there.
Yep. And in January, we flew down to Mexico, to Puerto Vallarta, to an expatriate doctor down there that does stem cells. And we had Tanner pumped full of like 100 million stem cells. And, this year he's had pretty good health. It hasn't risen, but he hasn't went down. And if that's the case, we may do that every couple years, and again, it's not inexpensive, but it's still better alternative than pulling out at somebody else's organ, putting it in his body, and then filling him up full of medications, and I'll tell you, every parent's proud of their kids, and both of mine are fine, but he handles it pretty good. He plays lacrosse, he plays football, he plays basketball, and he may not be able to do those things forever. And it's hard to pull him out in the middle of playing with his buddies and said, hey, you got to go use the bathroom. You got to go do this. And if he doesn't, a week later, he's sick, and when he gets sick, he just finished a bout of 3 days of missing school. What might take your son down for a couple hours is going to be 3 or 4 days for him, right? He just doesn't recover as fast. But, the clinic, it isn't out of the question. It's just, it was, I feel like the time I needed the most, they said, nah, it's not that important to us. This was much more important, only to do a complete about face, never call us, never communicate with us afterwards. Hey, we've come to a different, now that we got more information, this is where I had to find out from another friend that went down to get pre-approved to donate to his brother. Said, hey, they don't require that anymore. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Nobody called. So I made the phone call down. I said, yeah, it's not a requirement anymore. Okay. Like you're never.
So this other hospital, if they got a donor who was 5 out of 5, who it looked good,
would we move forward right now?
Minute?
Not yet, but we would. I mean, so what happens is Tanner gets labs every month. We go get blood and urine every month. Savan, he does, and that shows up, down, creatinine's climbing, bun's climbing. Creatinine is coming down. Overall GFR is here. And it goes on his height weight. So if he didn't take a dump, he only weighs 75 pounds, right? If he weighs 74 and he didn't get any taller, his kidney function can be a little less this time. But it's really the trends that we look for. There's not a whole lot that would take him and go from 20% to 10%, right? And if it did, we'd be in scramble mode. Probably have to do dialysis, look for a donor, the whole 9 yards, or, again, run out. The wife and I are both pretty good shape, and I've never been elite preferred in life insurance. I'm more of that standard or preferred rate. So, but we would get it figured out. There would be no mountain we wouldn't cross. Coming back to that point, all I kept thinking about, you ever deal with people that want to talk about the odds, right? The odds, Sevi, of you having an issue with this vaccine are very rare. Fair enough. So I asked the question, what are the odds of having a boy with posterior urethral valves? Well, 1 out of 20,000. Okay, and who has that child? I do. So let's skip the odds and talk about the consequences if I take that vaccine and my body doesn't react to it, and now I'm not healthy, I am like these other people in a wheelchair. I cannot go out. My wife, she's a level 2 and coaches at the gym, but we couldn't survive in our life with, that paycheck or what she gets from there. Very thankful for it, Tom and Heidi. But anyway, we couldn't survive there. And so the consequences, if my body reacted to it in an adverse way, were detrimental to us. Not only could I not donate, can I function and do my career? What's the rest of our life look like? And again, when somebody becomes disabled or has those issues, talk to any of those nurses or those people that felt that way. It isn't just that your stop working and income goes down. It's an inverse effect where bills go skyrocketing, income comes down, your overall mental health starts fraying away. You don't get better. It's like anytime, somebody is on permanent disability, again, trying to get them life insurance, it's very challenging. Why? Because their overall mental abilities is not as strong. They're not looking positive on life. They're stuck and they're sedentary. They're not out moving around. And again, I'm not knocking on it. Just those are the facts of how it is. And all that weight on us. And, we left there. And again, I kind of summarized 11 years into, an hour and a half, whatever we've been talking here. But, to go full circle, we still use CrossFit every day to our methodology to try to stay as fit as possible. The more I've learned about the medical community, and I'm not talking about individual doctors. I live in between 2 of them right now. They're great people that mean well. I don't know that they always know. When I lived next door to the other orthopedic surgeon before we moved out here, I'd asked him, I said, hey, just curious, after you cut on a knee or a shoulder, how much do you talk to them about maybe put some broccoli on their plate and not cotton candy or whatever else? He said, I don't do it at all. I said, but wouldn't a body heal faster if they ate broccoli versus gummy bears? Oh, yeah. Yeah. He said, in my 8 years of medical school, we spent 20 minutes on it. It is not, and I'm not knocking him or whatever. He spent
I am. They're fucking morons. But
most of it has come from a manual that this is the issue. This is what we do, right?
They're pharmaceutical stooges, man. At the end of the day, it's basically like they're just drug deal. They're drug dealers, and I know that they have their value, but they're basically been trained by pharma. The whole entire fucking medical establishment has been hijacked, including the teachings by big pharma. They're just being taught to sell what big pharma has to sell. It sucks.
Have you ever watched that documentary Dope Sick about the OxyContin and the Purdue Pharma family? Yeah, same thing, right? The only answer for Oxy is more Oxy. It's not addictive. You just keep pumping it.
I know pediatricians and doctors who got filthy rich from COVID, like vacation home, purchasing vacation home and fancy cars rich because of the whatever $149 they got for every shot they gave. And
Right.
hey, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Your state, what's the insurance you sell? What company do you work for?
I don't know if I'm a State Farm agent, but yeah.
State Farm
So
agent. And could I buy insurance from you living in California?
no, anybody in Ohio, Pennsylvania, or Michigan could, but no, not in
Okay.
California. I'm not licensed out there. So
So what states are you licensed in?
Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and I'm in
Ohio,
Ohio. Yep,
Ohio,
Ohio,
Michigan, and
Michigan,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yep.
So,
So
and what kind of insurance do you sell? Like car insurance, house
yep,
insurance, life
home
insurance?
auto, life, and business. Those are our mainstays.
What about insurance for gyms?
No, that's a tough one, and I'm very, very good friends with multiple gym owners, and our current one at Higer, very, very good friends with them. It's not a risk pool that my company has figured out or wants to dabble in. So it's unfortunate, but no. I have a good
And if
friend
someone wants to use you, can you give out your phone number on here?
yeah, I'll give you my cell phone. That works, right? Or
Yeah, if you or however, like I'm just saying, if there's listeners here, it really pisses me off that pharma fucking sends their stooges over you to Yelp and gives you a 1-star. And
yeah,
I know that and CrossFitters, I know normally just want to work with other CrossFitters. Like I have this guy who buys real estate for a living, and all he does is call areas in other states, and he'll call a CrossFit gym and be like, "Hey, do you have a real estate agent there and a mortgage guy there?" And they're like, "Yeah, why?" And they're like, "Because I want to buy a house in the area." And he knows if those are usually going to be, that's the best way to vet someone, right? I mean,
yep.
like, so how would people get in
I
touch
bet
with
I
you if they
have
live
I
in
bet I
Ohio?
have 45, 50 families at our gym, and they're all great. One of my buddies, Michael Panko, he when I didn't even know him well, he has maybe 6, 7 rental properties. And at the time, he's like, give us a quote. And I did, and I said, hey, buddy, we're not better on this property or that property. You know what he said? He said, I don't care. My current insurance agent doesn't. He doesn't CrossFit. I'm all in, and so
Yeah.
I'd say the easiest thing is probably if you just type in DaneDonaldson.com, it'll go to my site there, and it'll get right over there. And again, I didn't come on here looking for business or any of that stuff.
Oh, I know.
More than
I
anything,
don't
it's
I
just
don't mean
trying to stay some common sense on some stuff. Like again, I wasn't trying to take my kidney and sling it all out from everywhere else. See, I got those Google ratings back up. I had to get rid of those couple
I know.
dozen.
I met you at the yeah. No, not Don Donaldson. That's a good job. Dane Donaldson. Yeah, I know. And I met you at the games and we talked briefly, and I was just like, dude, I got to get you on the podcast. So no one should think that at all. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. It's just that how we spend our money is a huge way to vote. And so if someone lives in Ohio, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, and they want to support a guy who's fighting the good cause and who goes to a CrossFit gym and uses his money to pay for gym memberships, and it's really the best way we have power. So I just wanted to make sure I got that. You can it was easy, DaneDonaldson.com. So if anyone's in those areas, Ohio, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, and you're looking for insurance, go to him. He's the guy.
I appreciate it. I do. But again, I'll say that wasn't the reason I came on here, but I appreciate that part. I'll say this, we listen to you guys often. My wife, she loves you and Hiller, so it's on all the time. I come home, it's going. And the fight of getting back to getting people healthy again, what went out of the games that we all talked this tragedy, it was. But the same token, when we're working through it, there was 3/4 of our gym didn't even know what happened at the games. They don't follow that part, so to speak. The death of Lazar. They're still just in there grinding out every single day. And when I listen to you and Sousa talk about that stuff, or when Greg comes on, that's still the very core of it. It's our group that I have over here at High Gear is unreal. And then when on the weekends in the summertime up at CrossFit Port Clinton, great group of people. And there's something about getting together and suffering with others and having fun. And again, in the content that you bring forward and the microscope you keep on what's going on and what's important is greatly appreciated. So just keep fighting the good fight out there. It's a wealth of knowledge. I feel like every time you have Greg on, it's like a business class for me though. And I've owned a business for 22, 23 years, and I pick up something every single time that you have him on that helps me in my business. So keep doing it. It's amazing for me anyway.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your story. Congratulations on being a great dad, having a great wife, and please stay in touch.
Yep. Take care, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll see you.
Thank you. Yep. Have a good day. Okay.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Let's turn on once. Man, oh man. What a crazy story to have someone fuck with your kids. All right. I think I'll be back in 47 seconds.
When you're out there on the outside, it's just me and my wife, and it's just me and her, and we work 24/7 because we're retired, and to be around people, it's that sense of community, belonging, and belonging to Salty Hive has been enriching to us, and that's why we keep coming back, because we know when we go there, it's good people, good times, and we enjoy doing the exercise and enjoy the company.
The same people who claim that they want to the same people who want to abort babies don't want to help this guy save his kid's life. So there it is. If you don't take the injection, you lose your job, your kids can't go to school, you can't go to restaurants, and you can't save your kid's life. Fucking nuts, dude. I'm not worried about politics. It doesn't matter. They're all just the same. They're just the same. It's just the same thing. I'm the bigger picture guy. I can see it all. Fuck you. You can't see shit. You can't see shit. I'm sober as a whistle. I did a workout yesterday. I called it the liberal. Wow, my tits are kind of sore actually from that. If anyone wants to do the workout I did yesterday, you know what? I'm thinking about starting a blog. I'm thinking about starting a blog. I don't know who's going to do it for me. Who wants to just work their ass off and deal with me? Who wants to put in 2 hours a day of work and start a blog? I'm going to start my own fitness organization to compete with Greg's and CrossFit. I'm going to a blog. I'm going to steal the old blog that Greg used to do. And it's just going to be a workout and a picture. And there'll be columns of the seminars I'm going to do. I don't have any seminars, so there won't be much shit in there. And it's going to be, there's going to be a workout in there every day. No, it's going to be called, I'm going to steal fucking Chase and Bill's name. It's going to be called OG Fit. It's fucking hard. It's fucking hard running a blog. And it's going to have it's going to look just like the old CrossFit.com blog. Identical. There'll be events, the blog with the workout and the picture, and then I don't remember what was on the other column. So there'll be the affiliates. I'll have Travis make a flag, so there'll be all my affiliates on one side, and then on the other side will be all my seminars, and then in the middle will just be the workout and the Who wants to do that? Who wants to work for me for free? Who wants to help me build my shit and make me rich? The first workout's going to be called The Liberal. And it's the workout I did yesterday. I set a clock for 15 minutes. And I did 10 push-ups. And then with the remaining time on the minute, I did lunges. And I did that for 15 minutes. So basically, you do 10 push-ups as fast as you can. And then you do as many lunges as you can. And then when it gets to the second minute, you do 10 push-ups. I ended up doing like 150 push-ups and like 330 lunges. Do not, no one DM me and be like, you guys betray yourself. People betray themselves when they DM me and they want to do stuff. Because in their wording, it makes me realize that they're not really into it. Yeah, it could be Sevi Fit. I guess I don't have to still Bill and Chase's thing. It could be Sevi Fit. Yeah, I need more than 10 minutes. I appreciate it, but I need way more than 10 minutes. How's my connection? God, I'm really fucking pissed at how bad my connection is right now. I want to call Sarah and ask her about it because she does so much for me already. Here, stay at my beautiful luxury condo right on one of the best beaches in the world. And then what am I supposed to do? Call her and it sucks now. My connection sucks. What am I supposed to do? Call her and be like, hey, the internet doesn't work here. CK Kevin, I have to be bought. Sorry, Sevi. Hey, dude, I understand. I fully get it. I'm nothing gayer than lunges in place. Totally. That's why I call it this workout would be called The Liberal. But dude, I was sweating like a pig when I was done, and my chest are sore. My chest is sore from those push-ups, and I do a lot of push-ups. Like that's kind of a staple. So for me to get sore. By the way, was there a discussion about getting drunk and being in a like a going down the river with Susie? Was that I was trying to follow that thread. I half chubbed when I heard that. All right. There won't be. I don't know. There won't be any fees. There won't be any fees. At least for now. You just have to buy a flag from Vindicate, VNDK8, and put it up in your gym. That's it. Just like there won't be any seminars at first. I'll advertise other people's seminars. We already have we have the it's the best podcast in the space with the best listeners, with the best competition show, with the best affiliate business show, with the best affiliate videos. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? I just need a blog. Seminars. Yeah, we'll do seminars. We'll purposely spell it wrong on the site. Upcoming seminars. Thank you. Judy Reed. Hi, Judy. Can we all say a huge congrats to Corey Leonard on qualifying for Legends? No, fuck him. I mean, congratulations, Corey. Yeah, fuck me. Yeah, especially if you got double Ds. Speaking of double Ds. Jesus, Jake. Jesus, Jake. Wow. Wow. Jake, did you think twice before you sent that? Did you type this out? And then were you like, oh my God, I don't know if I should send that? Yeah, coming soon. The Sevon seminars coming soon. Yeah, that would be great. That's good. Solid. Yeah, I know. That was crass. That was. I need to. Jake never wondered if you should send it. I don't know. I don't know. Not at all. Wow. Wow. Heidi Kroom, I deal with these type of men all the time. I am a Swiftie. Yeah. Well, when you're hot, that's what happens. Dudes just want to dump loads on you or around you. Any preposition around you, near you, over you, under you, in you. Dudes love prepositions in their semen and you. It's a perfect, perfect threesome. I am very unsettled with my internet connection. Should I I have my phone over there and I'm hotspotting this through my phone and I can tell I have 1 bar. I keep freezing. When I freeze, can you hear my audio? I could try switching networks while I'm live on the air. Okay, thank you. That's good. That's good input. Thank you, keeping it real. I haven't lost your audio since joining. All right. All right. I had a fun time last night with the boys, with Andrew, John. It was Bryson's kind of debut on the show. Caleb. Who else was here? Hiller was Spin on the show. Who was on the show last night? Hiller, John, Bryson. Hiller, John, Bryson, Caleb. Khalifa has serious beef after that show. I mean, those guys are crazy. Khalifa's got to be the 4th most popular CrossFit Games champ ever. Yeah, Tyler's always good. Tyler would have been good for that discussion last night. Yeah, I agree. I should Bill Grunt. Then who has the same kind of old school background as me, but he was busy. Susie, I got to go wash my hair. Cool. Send pictures. Oh, you're losing my audio? Fuck, I'm out of here. This sucks. Your butt looks good. Are those new shorts? Your butt looks good in those. What are you doing? You bought milk from one carton and poured it into another carton? Oh. All right. I don't have my and my roadcaster stopped working too. This is fucking nuts. I know. I'm gonna hang out with Sarah and Paul tonight. I just don't want to bug her. She's done so much for us. It says my firmware is 2.1.2, and I think that's the most current firmware. I know this is my hair. I don't know. My hair is just whatever. I should probably get a haircut today. They don't have my boys don't have one share and they're not on it. They're playing cards or something right now. 5-minute AMRAP, Jeffrey Birchfield, 1 snatch, 8 burpees, 2 snatches, 8 burpees, and so on for 5 minutes. Wow. The cool thing is if you do have time for the blog, it will be huge. But look, if you're not like a beast, like if you have any pussy in you, do not reach out to that. I want to try to turn my Roadcaster back on and try hooking it up one more time. There's not even, it's the old road. What's weird is that Brian Spin's Roadcaster went out yesterday too. I'm wondering if something happened to my computer, like the software updated on my computer and now it's not compatible with the Roadcaster. Oh, Mac OS Sequoia is available. Hmm. So first, the chief of police of New York steps down, and now the mayor of New York, complete pro-vaccine dude, anti-meat guy, wanted to stop the sale of meat in New York City. Now he got indicted by the feds yesterday. It's fucking awesome. I don't even. All right, I'm out of here. I'm losing my shit. All right, love you guys. What's today? Is today Wednesday? Thursday. Is Shut Up and Scribble on today? I need my calendar. I don't even know when that show is. Oh yeah, biggest programming show in the space. I mean, this is a one-stop shop for all things CrossFit. I mean, SeviFit. You think they went after Adams because he was coming out against illegal immigration? I know that's what he wants people to think. What happened? He was taking money from the Turkish government. Is that what was happening for his campaign? Your signal just got 10,000 times better. Oh, it jumped over to another network. Oh, no. Wait. I don't. Oh, yeah. I just jumped onto another network. It jumped off my hotspot. Now I'm on Spectrum D1. No, my shit's slow. It's so slow. And did you guys hear about the COVID czar in New York City? It's just endless. The COVID czar in New York City just got in trouble for having sex parties. He shut down the city, pulled 1 million kids out of fucking school for a year, didn't allow Kyrie, whatever that guy's name is, to play in the NBA without the vaccine. And that guy got busted for throwing huge sex parties during COVID. They caught him on video saying he was banging a bunch of chicks at his house on drugs, drug fueled. He was doing like small versions of the Diddy freak off. Hunter's coming on soon. I reached out to him yesterday to see if I could get him on the show. Hunter will be back on soon. We had a little hiccup in our relationship. I said something about him on the show, and one of you assholes ran and told him. Do you know what Sevon said about you? Meh, meh, meh. That's so lame. No, I'm gonna go on a walk here in a minute. I said, what did you say about him? I said, he's undefeated in High Rocks, and they had their first drug testing, and he didn't win. What's the irony of that? And he called me, and he's like, "Dude, you fucking asshole! Is that the way you treat your friends?" And that's it. It's totally valid what he said. I own that. I was like, "Yeah, that's not cool." I own it. And he said that was my second strike. There was another show he did where we were talking about relationships, and he said something about younger girls not being fun to date. We made a reel out of it, and I guess he got a bunch of shit for it. So he said that really pissed him off. I actually pulled that reel down because it pissed him off so much. I do view him as a friend. Here's the thing with Hunter. I think Hunter's jaded a little bit, and he thinks the world is just full of assholes who are just out to get theirs. And so I don't want to be that. So I understand that, like, I don't want to be that person in his life. I want him to show that, like, hey, we're not. That's not the world. What? Do you know how to scratch your balls? You're not supposed to scratch. When you scratch your balls, you don't actually scratch them. You just pinch. Like this? No, you don't reach in there. Just from the outside of your clothes, you pinch the testicles and you roll them. Like if your balls ever itch, you just, you get what I'm saying? I know I saw you itching your balls. What I'm saying is, though, that you don't actually ever scratch the balls. You just pinch and roll the sack in your hand. Gentle, though. You don't want to hurt the eggs inside the balls. You know what I mean? Right here. Yeah, like if it itches, like I was just doing it. Me and you were scratching our nuts at the same time, but I was using the pinch and roll technique, and you were using the actual scratch technique. Scratching's easier? Yeah. Oh, when they get bigger, you'll see you can't really do that. You have to do the pinch and roll. You don't actually scratch them. You just pinch. No. You can scratch your shaft. I mean, gently. But you know what I mean? Okay, well, you will know someday. The scrotum, you know, like when your balls itch? Yeah, pinch and roll. Thank you, Philip. Yeah, you just pinch and roll it a little bit. Yeah. So it's like no one even has to teach you that, but I was just teaching one of my boys that. Oh, hi. Audrey, I love learning man shit. Yeah. Just you kind of just pinch it and roll it, and that itches it. It hurts, but not like in a painful way. And that hurt is actually kind of like the itching. I'm doing it now, pinching and rolling now. All right. You're painting and listening. Raise your hand if you just scratch your balls. Oh, yes. David's a team player. All right, so I'll take that off my list. COVID czar in New York is busted for shutting the city down, but fucking a bunch of people at drug-fueled parties. That's fun. I'm loading another page. I wonder if that fucks everything up. Let's do one story. This one's absurd. Top Google lawyer coached Kamala Harris Trump debate, and tech antitrust watchdogs are crying foul. This is a crazy story. A top lawyer for what the fuck is this? A top lawyer for Google and the search giant's landmark trial with the U.S. government is also a advisor to the Kamala Harris campaign. And tech antitrust watchdogs are calling the cozy relationship out, the Post has learned. And a doubleheader that turned heads across the Beltway, Google attorney Karen Dunn last Tuesday delivered an opening defense in Virginia federal court against the Biden-Harris Justice Department's lawsuit targeting its digital ad business, and then reportedly raced out of the courtroom to assist Harris in that same afternoon with final preparations to take on Trump in Philadelphia. You couldn't have scripted this any better if you were writing to Jeff Hauser, executive director of the Revolving Door Project. So this lady defends Google in a lawsuit against the Biden-Harris administration, and then later on that day goes over Kamala coaching on how to deal with Trump. Dunn is the top litigator at the white shoe law firm Paul Weiss, whose chairman Brad Karp is heading up a lawyers committee for Kamala Harris to raise cash for her White House bid. She is tasked with defending Google against a DOJ case that is seen as an existential threat to its business model. Oh, fucking nuts. Fucking nuts. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice released that the manifesto from the most recent shooter at the golf course, saying that he'll pay $150,000 to anyone who finishes the job. But they won't release the manifesto of the tranny who shot up the Christian school for 7 months because they don't want copycats. In further news, Bill Maher had a lady on the other day. I think she was from NBC News, and she was saying that Kamala doesn't need to do any interviews and we don't need to know any of her policies because all that matters is stopping Trump. And then 2 days later, she does an interview with Kamala Harris. I wonder if Kamala Harris's campaign saw that and was like, yep, let's do an interview with her. She knows that Kamala has nothing to say and will go easy on her. It's cuckoo world. Oh, it doesn't matter, Sevi. They're just the same. It's the same. It doesn't matter who wins. They're just the same. It's all being controlled by the Jews in Israel. Well, I'm stupid. And I got a fucking horse in the race. God, I want my connection to be good. I want my Roadcaster. I want to be able to take phone calls. I'm going to try to play this video here. Tell me if this plays or if this stutters. If this stutters, then I'll save it and use it again. Here we go.
I found 2 pieces of gum down there on the turf. Blatant disrespect, 1. 2, if I find out who it is, you obviously cut. 3, if it happens again, I'll fucking forfeit the other games. It's fucking horseshit. I ain't got nothing to lose. I'll go 1-9, but I'll have the fucking best field in the motherfucking nation. But you want to piss on my shit? Hands down, hips down. We'll go until I'm tired. Hurry up. Hurry up. Hey, go the fuck home then if it's bullshit. Get down, Cottrell. Fat fuck. Get down,
Yeah, get down,
fat
Cottrell, you fat fuck.
Blue helmet motherfucker, get your fat ass down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen up.
Coach found 2 pieces of gum on his AstroTurf, his AfroTurf. 2 pieces of gum on the field, and this is what he says to the team.
I found 2 pieces of gum down there on the turf. Blatant disrespect, 1. 2, if I find out who it is, you obviously cut. 3, if it happens again, I'll fucking forfeit the other games. It's fucking horseshit. I ain't got nothing to lose. I'll go 1-9, but I'll have the fucking best field in the motherfucking nation. But you want to piss on my shit? Hands down, hips down. We'll go until I'm tired. Hurry up. Hurry up. Hey, go the fuck home then if it's bullshit. Get down, Cottrell. Fat fuck. Get down, you fat fuck. Blue helmet motherfucker, get your fat ass down. 1, 2,
Film that did a shitty job. We need a wide angle. Oh, is that what this is? That's Last Chance U. That's a TV show. God, it's so good. God, it's so good. Man, it's so good. Hey, did that stutter when it was playing for you guys? I hate it when the Instagram videos stutter. I know they stuttered on Caleb's Starlink. Show's great. Uh-oh. I lost my exerciser overlay. Where's my exerciser overlay? There we go. Okay. Yeah, the other coaches can go fuck off. Also, listen to what the other coaches said. Like he said, forfeit games and calling out a player that's not cool. Yeah, that's perfectly cool. Fuck that. It's perfect. Absolutely call people out. Jackass. I took it off last night, yeah. Just because we had someone stuck behind it. Listen, if you're a man, if you're a boy, and your coach is talking to you like that, you're good to go. Oh, my wife just told me I have to get off the podcast. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah. Boys need to be spoke to like that by their coaches, not their parents. And boys like that shit. Especially when there's a group of them. If it was just like one boy, maybe not. It's abusive. But when you got a whole squad like that and it's you against them, that's how you talk to them. I know. I know stuff. No, it's all good. Rambler, don't worry about it. It's all good. All right. Time to go play with the kids. Love you guys. No, you're not talking about anything, Rambler. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Love you guys. Bye-bye.